I am the most envied courtesan in the entire capital, all because I bear a striking resemblance to the crown princess. I was bought for a fortune on the very night I debuted, holding the heavy silver in my arms. I rode in the sedan chair, both excited and anxious. I secretly made up my mind that even if my patron was a 60-year-old, decrepit old man, I would still plant a tender, affectionate kiss on him. As long as I can get the deed of sale and gain my freedom, I can do anything. But when I saw the incontinent, crazy prisoners in the cell, I turned around and wanted to leave. Sorry, I overestimated myself. I crouched in the corner, reluctantly stroking the silver ingots one by one. Then, enduring the pain, I glanced at that madman. After I entered, he kept giggling foolishly, calling out to me incessantly, "Ayao, Ayao." He was calling for Zhao Yuniao, once the most noble lady, now the crown princess. A fool. How dare he still dream of a noble lady? I rolled my eyes at him and scoffed. Stop dreaming. You only have me, this lowly courtesan. I wonder what crime this person committed to be locked up in this pitch-dark prison, filthy and foul-smelling, with disheveled hair. Their face is unrecognizable. A jailer outside knocked on the door and urged, "Hurry up. The noble bought you, not to have you daydream, a dog relying on its master's power. What's the rush? I need to mentally prepare myself too." I gritted my teeth and pulled out a silver ingot to hand to the jailer. I said ingratiatingly, "Brother, could you please fetch 2 buckets of hot water?" As the jailer took the silver, his rough, dark hand brushed against the back of mine. I gave him a coquettish glance. He smacked his lips and chuckled, "TSK, she's just the top beauty of Qianxiang Tower. What a pity. People's fates are so different. You do look a lot like Miss Zhao, but she's already become the lofty crown princess. While you can only serve this mad 5th prince, a lowly wretch with a fool. TSK, a perfect match. The 5th prince." I was taken aback and looked toward the man crouched on the ground, scratching at the wall. This filthy, foul-smelling madman turned out to be the 5th prince, who was once as radiant and pure as the moon after rain. I recall the Lantern Festival 2 years ago, when the 5th prince was releasing sky lanterns on the city wall. He was dressed in a moon-white brocade robe with wide sleeves, his long hair as dark as ink, as noble and refined as jade, with just a faint smile to the woman beside him. He captivated half the capital. At that time, I was watching him from below the wall. I heard a sister say dreamily, "If I could sleep with the 5th prince, it would be worth dying for." What happened in the palace? Why did he end up in such a state? The jailer brought 2 buckets of water and said impatiently, "Let me tell you. If you, this famous courtesan, still can't make the 5th prince a man, you'll be dragged out and killed in a moment. 3 have already died before you." As he said this, he glanced at the wall. I immediately knew that someone was watching us through a peephole. I wet a cloth to wash the 5th prince's face. He took my hand and said gently, "Ayao, you came to see me." I immediately got angry and pinched the back of his hand hard. "Open your damn eyes and look, I'm not your sweetheart." He gasped in pain, blinked his eyes pitifully, and quietly looked at me. I stripped off his outer garment, hesitated for a moment, and left him in his undergarment. Sigh, let's all be a bit more dignified. After using up 2 buckets of water, he finally became a bit cleaner. I pressed him against the corner of the wall, where we could avoid prying eyes. I bit his lip and mumbled, "5th prince, I don't know if you're truly mad or just pretending, but I want to survive, so I apologize for the offense." He pressed himself tightly against the wall, wishing he could put as much distance between us as possible. I pulled down his pants and slipped my hand inside. I pushed a pill out with the tip of my tongue and fed it into his throat. Good thing I came prepared. I was afraid that if I were to face a 60-year-old man, I might not perform well, so I prepared some medicine in advance. Not long after, he became aroused. His hands tightly gripped my waist. I bit his shoulder in pain. Suddenly, Many sounds of laughter and chatter came from outside. It seems fifth brother has truly gone mad. Alas, it turns out it's not that he couldn't perform, but that he could only perform in front of the crown princess's face. They're engaging in marital relations like this. What difference is there from wild beasts? Is this still our lofty and noble fifth brother? I covered the fifth prince's ears, preventing him from hearing those foul words. He suddenly turned over, shielding me with his body. I heard a voice filled with disgust coming from outside. He's already gone mad. Why must you stoop so low? The voice was noble and cold. I heard those people immediately stop their nonsense. Through the fifth prince's shoulder, I saw a noble and beautiful woman standing outside. She was the crown princess, Zhao Yuniao. Everyone says I look about 70% like her, but seeing her in person, I realized it was all nonsense. She is like a goddess high above, while I am as lowly as wild grass in the mud. Meeting her gaze, I let out an exaggerated groan. The crown princess disdainfully covered her nose and mouth with a handkerchief, turned around, and said, "This farce has gone on long enough. I was originally going to be dragged out and killed. These turtle-egg bastards. These noblemen who won't have anuses in their next lives. After using me, they want to kill me." I cursed and cried, shouting insults that traced back 18 generations of their ancestors. Just as the knife was pressed against my neck, the fifth prince suddenly rushed out from somewhere. He had been beaten black and blue, looking utterly disheveled. Upon seeing me, the fifth prince pushed aside the knife-wielding jailer and held me tightly in his arms. Having narrowly escaped death, I burst into uncontrollable sobs. I pounded on his back. The fifth prince gently stroked my hair and said with a soft smile, "Ayao. Ayao, don't be afraid, it's all right." I leaned against his warm chest, my cold and stiff body finally slowly warming up. "I'm not dead, I'm not dead." I grabbed his sleeve to wipe away my tears and snot. "All right, Ayao it is then, as long as I can survive. I wouldn't mind being a stand-in for the crown princess. I'd even be willing to be his mother." I imitated the crown princess's demeanor, speaking with noble aloofness. "You big fool, from now on, I am Zhao Yuniao. I am your most beloved woman. So you must treat me well, understand?" Who would have thought the fifth prince was no longer a fool? He shook off my hand and said angrily, "You're not Ayao." The fifth prince turned and left. Seeing the prison guards eyeing me fiercely, I dared not stay and hurriedly followed him. I kept muttering behind him, "I am Ayao, have you forgotten? We were just in the cell, kissing each other so passionately we couldn't bear to part. I am your wife." The fifth prince finally stopped in his tracks. He turned around, took my hand, and said earnestly, "All right, my wife, we're leaving the prison." I quickly went to retrieve the silver I had left in the cell. Unexpectedly, the jailer, holding that bag of silver, kicked me to the ground and said disdainfully, "What kind of daydream are you having?" Suppressing the pain in my chest, I forced a charming smile, got up, and sat in the jailer's lap, saying in a soft, delicate voice, "Big brother Tilda, please be kind. I'm just a weak woman, without a little silver to rely on. How will I survive once I'm out?" The jailer rubbed my waist, revealing a mouthful of yellow teeth as he leered and said, "Silver, I can give it to you, but I also want to taste what it's like to have a woman of the fifth prince's Tilda. You sounded really good just now. Silver is important. Silver is important. Endure if you can. Damn that dog's father, you turtle bastard. I can't take it anymore." I pulled out the sharp hairpin from my head, pressed it against his neck, and said fiercely, "At worst, it's just death. I serve the fifth prince. After all, if I kill you, I'll just get a beating at most." The jailer stuffed the silver into my arms, spat on the ground, and said, "Damn it, crazy woman, here, take it." I held the silver and pulled the fifth prince along as I turned to leave. Once outside, I realized my palms were drenched in sweat, my body was weak, my legs were weak, and I urged the fifth prince, Let's go, let's go. Get out of this cursed place as fast as we can. Once you enter this cursed place, there's no hope for a lifetime. I was locked up with the fifth prince in a remote palace. Hearing the old eunuch mutter a few words, I was almost scared to death. I thought I was going to be moved from one ghostly place to another. Who would have thought? Who would have thought? This is no ghostly place. It's clearly a celestial realm. I walked around the hall, utterly dumbfounded. My heavens! Look at this grand bed made of sandalwood, the carvings, the craftsmanship. Look at this Suzhou embroidery curtain, the pattern, the fabric. There are also a few fruit trees planted outside. Many rare and expensive flowers are being cultivated. They are just neglected, growing both vigorously and untidily. The fifth prince sat on the steps, lost in thought. I walked over and nudged his calf with my foot, saying sourly, "You nobles, even when you're down on your luck, you still live so well, living in such a spacious place. When I was in the brothel, I shared a large bed with 5 or 6 sisters. I dare not even turn over in my sleep at night, afraid I might accidentally kiss someone else's mouth." There was a commotion outside. I pressed my ear to listen and realized someone had come to deliver something. The fifth prince has completely lost his mind. The crown princess is truly kind-hearted, allowing us to bring some of the fifth prince's old belongings. Not long ago, the empress passed away from illness, and the emperor didn't even bother to visit her once. His thoughts are entirely on the imperial consort. After all, the empress came from a humble background. Her death conveniently makes way for the imperial consort. Hearing this, I glanced at the fifth prince, kicked the door on purpose. The noise outside immediately ceased. The palace maids placed the items outside the door, and I took a look. Wow, quite a lot. Bedding, clothes, books. I glanced at the pile of books and turned to complain. Is your old flame a fool or what? What's the point of sending books at a time like this? I casually tossed those books into a corner and continued rummaging. Damn it, why not send something valuable? I grumbled. Are all the people in your palace raised on dew? The fifth prince pointed at the bag on the table and said foolishly, "The lady has silver." Holding the silver, I said warily, "Don't even dream about it. I will never spend money on a man in this lifetime." The fifth prince snatched a silver ingot from me, making me so angry that I wanted to beat him up. But alas, the difference in strength was too great. The fifth prince held my head with one hand and pointed at my chest with the other, saying seriously, "Madam, injured, use silver to buy medicine." It seems this fool has a bit of a conscience, knowing to care about my injury. I certainly didn't spend my own silver to buy the medicine. Instead, I exchanged those worthless books for some bruise ointment. The eunuch who traded with me was grinning from ear to ear. I wonder how much those books were actually worth. I heard it's a rare edition that's hard to come by, even with a fortune. Take the medicine back. The fifth prince sat by the bedside, looking down with a rather unhappy expression. Ah, just look at these royal descendants, they're truly different. I'm speechless, still trying to snatch the book from me. Can that thing be eaten as a meal? I didn't bother with him either, took off my clothes, sat on the bed, and applied medicine to my wounds. There were abrasions on both my back and chest. The fifth prince listened to my hissing sounds and stopped sulking. He was a meticulous person, actually knowing to wash his hands before applying medicine to me. We sat facing each other inside the tent. He lowered his eyes to apply ointment to my chest, but his face grew redder and redder. I looked at his submissive little appearance, which stirred up a mischievous fire in me. His hand remained at the edge of the belliband, not moving any further. I deliberately pressed against him, wrapped my arms around his neck, and bit his ear. Are they big? Are they fair? As soon as these words were spoken, his breathing grew a little heavier. I said proudly, "The sisters in the brothel used to say that any man who sees my body would be unable to walk away. Alas, being confined in this palace, there's nothing to do every day. the more I look at the fifth prince, the more I think he's really quite handsome. As for me, having a face similar to the crown princess's will surely bring me countless troubles in the future. Better to have a good time with the fifth prince before some other scoundrel ruins me. I knew it in prison, this man has what it takes. But he was so clueless. Lifting the curtain to leave, I untied my underwear and threw it at his face, fuming. I'm willing to give you, this fool, a chance. Why are you running? If you leave, I'll just find a guard to warm my bed. The fifth prince pinched my peach-colored bellaband, turned to look at me, and said with both difficulty and grievance, "Madam, it hurts." Only then did I understand he was referring to that time in the prison. Fool! The gloom in my heart instantly dissipated. Back then, with so many people watching, although I felt a bit uncomfortable, I deliberately exaggerated my cries. I pulled him in and coaxed him, "If you kiss me, it won't hurt anymore." Sigh. The fifth prince is a diligent learner. He learns whatever is taught and can even apply it in new ways. I was so tired I didn't even want to move a finger, yet he still knew to bring water to wash me. Before sleeping, he held me in his arms, gently stroking my hair. That kind of attitude made me feel as if I were being treated like a treasure. My heart softened a little, and I patted his back, whispering, "My name is Zheng Yao, the Yarrow from a graceful and virtuous lady. From now on, you must not get my name wrong." The fifth prince lowered his head and nuzzled my cheek, his voice gentle as he said, "A Yao's voice is so sweet. Even if you call me a fool, I still love hearing it." Fool, he really knows how to sweet talk. I drifted off to sleep, feeling utterly content. Living here with this fool wouldn't be so bad after all. Life in the cold palace wasn't peaceful every day. Some people, with nothing better to do, would always stand at the door, peering around to see just how foolish the fifth prince was. Fortunately, there were guards stationed at the door, so they couldn't get in. Otherwise, those who fawn on the powerful and bully the weak would have made the fifth prince crawl on the ground and bark like a dog. Look, there's someone outside barking like a dog right now. They say the fifth prince has gone mad. If we give him meat and tell him to bark like a dog, will he do it? Who knows? Why don't you call him out and see? Hearing this, I was instantly furious, pouring out a basin of dirty water towards that person. The other party angrily shouted, "You wretch! How dare you splash me? Do you know who I am?" Yes, I know. I recognized him at a glance, back then outside the imperial prison. This person was the most engrossed in watching the show. Hehe, look at me when I'm with the fifth prince. He gets so excited his face flushes with blood. Who knows who the real beast is? I pretended to be aggrieved, putting on a pitiful and charming expression, and said in a coquettish tone, "Oh, young master, it's my fault for not noticing you." I walked over, pulling out a handkerchief to wipe his face. This shameless person took the opportunity to try and touch my hand. I immediately retreated back inside the door. He reached out and found nothing, his expression actually showing a hint of disappointment. I realized he wasn't here to laugh at the fifth prince's misfortune. He was clearly here looking for me. He actually wants to come in and catch me. The guards coldly blocked them. Someone nearby tugged at him. If the Empress finds out we came here, she'll definitely scold us. Don't cause trouble. Let's go quickly. Leaning against the door, I said reluctantly, "Young master, how about leaving a token? Come back and chat with me when you have time, Tilda." He actually tore off a piece of jade pendant and threw it to me from a distance. I curiously asked the guard, "Who is that person? How can he be so arrogant?" The guard said expressionlessly, "The Empress's nephew, Qi Zhan." The Empress he mentioned was originally the imperial consort. A few days ago, the imperial consort was officially installed as the Empress, and the ceremony was quite a grand affair. Even in our secluded palace, we could hear the harmonious sounds of ceremonial music. I heard that everyone received rewards, and even the grumpy eunuch who brings us our meals was beaming with joy that day. If you ask me. There's not much difference between this palace and our Qianxiang pavilion. They all have to exert all their efforts to win men's favor and swindle their money. I happily carried the jade pendant back to my room. The fifth prince was sitting at the table carving a wooden sculpture. I sat in his lap and asked him, "Silly, can you tell me what characters are written on this?" The fifth prince turned his face away, refusing to look. He actually wouldn't even let me hug him, gently pushing me away. I wrapped my arms around his neck and giggled. "Are you jealous? It was all just an act. I only wanted to trick some benefits out of him. Look." With just a few words, he gave me a jade pendant. The fifth prince pursed his lips and said, "Ayao, this isn't right." His expression was very serious. He did not approve of my actions. If he were still the clear-headed fifth prince, he would surely have scolded me for being shameless. Even though he has lost his wits, his heart remains noble. Someone like me, after sleeping with him for a few nights, would lose all sense of proportion and start thinking we were truly connected. The foolish one was actually me. After living in this palace for over 3 months, I had become quite familiar with the maids and eunuchs who delivered meals. I could even chat occasionally with the guards at the gate. From their words, I could vaguely piece together an image of the fifth prince. He was born noble, exceptionally intelligent. A true gentleman of humility. The fifth prince was perfect. Even if he went mad or became foolish, the palace maids and eunuchs didn't want to say a single bad word about him. One palace maid even wiped away a tear and said softly, "If I had to point out a flaw in the fifth prince, it would be that he is too kind-hearted. In this palace, kind-hearted people don't live long." He would even take pity on a suffering bird. He raised the salaries of the palace servants and reduced the use of cruel punishments. In the court, he is meticulous in his work, earning praise from everyone. He is both literary and martial, a prodigious talent. Yet he has come to this state. I heard that when he was 3 years old, a master once wanted to guide him into Buddhism. He also traveled far and wide, a truly compassionate person. I lowered my head, toying with that exquisite jade pendant, thinking to myself, someone like him, even if he falls into hardship, will surely have a chance to rise again. I need to start planning for myself early on. We can't wait for him to become wealthy again, only to end up as a worthless abandoned woman. After being confined in the cold palace for over half a year, the Empress suddenly issued an order for us to move to Danxia Palace. I heard that it was originally the palace of the fifth prince. That was the first time I saw the Empress. She is nearly 40 years old. Yet she is extremely beautiful and noble. I knelt on the ground and stole a glance at her, only to see her adorned with a head full of pearls and jade, looking very luxurious. I lowered my head and saw that the Empress's shoes were embroidered with gold thread, adorned with pearls as large as a thumb. Good heavens, that is truly extravagant. If I ever return to Qianxiang Tower in the future and tell these stories to my sisters, they'll be so envious they could die. The Empress took the fifth prince's hand and sighed. "Alas, your mother's lack of virtue should not have implicated you." I pleaded with His Majesty for a long time, and only after his anger subsided did he release you. "From now on, you may live peacefully in Danxia Palace. I will take care of everything for you." The fifth prince, foolish as he was, didn't even know how to respond and actually drooled onto the Empress's arm. I looked up and saw the Empress's contorted face, and my heart burst with joy. Someone coughed behind me and said, "Mother, it's stuffy in the room, I'm going out for a walk." As he left, he kicked me. I quietly left as well. I went out the door and looked around. Passing by the rockery, I was suddenly pulled behind it. The crown prince looked at my frightened, pale face and laughed heartily. "Look at you, like a little thief of a kitten. What are you so afraid of?" I pounded his chest and cooed. If others were to find out, how could I ever show my face again? The crown prince pinched my cheek and chuckled. When you were seducing me, I didn't see you being afraid." I pretended to be shy, lowered my head, and secretly rolled my eyes. What a load of bullshit. That day, I was just feeling bored in the cold palace and went for a stroll in the small garden. Who would have thought that when I turned my head, I saw the Crown Prince watching me from afar. He's dressed in such a flamboyant yellow. Who wouldn't know his identity? That gaze, so direct, it almost seemed to strip my clothes off. I immediately shot him a glare, both shy and angry. You lecher, look at me one more time, and I'll gouge your eyes out. I turned and ran, deliberately leaving my handkerchief behind. Over time, he would often wait for me in that small garden. When he confessed that he was the Crown Prince, I pretended to be surprised and frightened. Trembling, I said, "Your Highness, this humble servant." As I spoke, I began to cry. The Crown Prince coaxed me. "Good girl, don't be afraid. From now on, we'll still get along just like this. I'm not a fool, of course." I didn't let him coax me into giving myself away. A man like the Crown Prince needs to be teased, kept on edge, and scolded. As expected, my days in the cold palace grew better and better. Every meal had meat and soup, and there were so many clothes I couldn't wear them all. If I had a headache or felt unwell, an imperial physician would come to treat me. Only that fool remained silent, day after day. I know in my heart that, no matter how foolish he is, he probably knows I have a man outside. He has now moved back to his original palace. And I'm afraid his days will only get better and better. It's time for me to break things off with him. The Crown Prince needed my hand, calling me his sweetheart and darling. He said in frustration, "War has broken out again in the northwest. If it weren't for the sake of winning over that old scoundrel Han Chongshuan, my mother would never have released the fifth prince. In my opinion, he should have been left to go mad and die in the cold palace." Han Chongshuan, the greatest warrior of the great Xia. Even I, an illiterate prostitute, know the name of this hero. The Crown Prince has cursed him countless times in private. He is the sworn brother of the late Empress, which makes him the fifth prince's uncle. The Crown Prince is a narrow-minded villain. If he becomes emperor in the future, General Han is sure to suffer. If General Han dies, how heartbroken the people of the Northwest will be, alas. But these matters of national importance are not something a mere woman like me should dwell on. All I want now is to earn more silver to secure my future, then coax the Crown Prince into letting me leave the palace and keep me as an outside mistress. As for the fifth prince, I've long wanted nothing to do with him. After spending some time with the Crown Prince, I returned to my bedchamber. As soon as I entered, I was startled. All the things the Crown Prince gave me have been ruined. All those clothes were cut to shreds and thrown on the ground. The jewelry and hair ornaments are beyond recognition. The fifth prince sat on the side, chopping off the head of a wooden doll with a single stroke of his knife. I held those clothes, and my heart trembled. I looked up and met his gaze, then glanced at the headless wooden doll on the ground. It was unmistakably the Crown Prince's likeness. I was furious, crying as if my heart were breaking. "It's heartbreaking," I cried out. "What madness is this? Do you know how much I had to endure the Crown Prince's bad breath just to coax him into giving me all these fine things? I used to envy the Crown Princess too. After getting close to the Crown Prince, I actually started to sympathize with her. Such a pure and noble lady. Yet her husband has bad breath. How unbearable." The fifth prince knelt down beside me and held me tightly in his arms. He whispered, "Ayao, don't go looking for him anymore. I'll give you whatever you want." It has been so long since we last held each other like this. I cried even harder, pinching, hitting, and biting him. "Aren't you the one who looked down on me for being lowly? Aren't you the one who thought it was wrong for me to flirt with men? Stay away from me. I don't care about you at all." I cried harder and harder, as if my tears would never stop. In truth, I had already come to understand in my heart. During these days, I deliberately kept my distance from the fifth prince. But it didn't make me feel any better. I thought we were allies who shared both joys and sorrows. I am a wild grass planted in the soil, and he is the earth that nourishes me. But when I look up, he is still hanging high in the sky, only I am stuck low in the dust. How can this not make me feel upset? The fifth prince held me, kissing the tears on my face. I'm sorry, Ayao, I was driven mad with jealousy. Punish me. I'll accept it all, I sobbed, refusing to pay him any attention. He embraced me and led me into the inner chamber, and somehow, we ended up tumbling onto the bed. As the curtain was drawn, the fifth prince's voice grew softer and softer, until only I could hear it, and the words he spoke became increasingly inappropriate. Ayao, don't cry. How about I let you ride me like a little horse, or, you can pull my braid, and I'll bark like a puppy. Don't you like any of them? Then I'll give you a kiss. I covered his mouth, blushing with embarrassment, and said, Stop talking, I forgive you. Okay, it had been a long time since we were close. Under the fifth prince's attentions, my body went soft as water. I looked into his beautiful eyes and asked curiously, Are you really foolish, or are you just pretending? After spending more than half a year with him day and night, I still couldn't see through him. If you were to say he's foolish, yet he loves cleanliness and enjoys reading. If you were to say he's not foolish. He even drooled right in front of the empress. The fifth prince kissed my lips and murmured, I'll only be a fool for Ayao alone. I was still thinking about how to get rid of the foul-mouthed crown prince, but then he stopped coming to see me. I heard he had a big fight with the crown princess in the Eastern Palace. This argument revealed a shocking secret. The crown prince is actually impotent. Oh my goodness. I watched the glimmer in the palace maid's eyes and covered my mouth, afraid I might scream out. The new little palace maid is called Crisp Peach, and she loves to gossip all day long. I hear her name and it always makes my teeth itch, as if I want to take a bite. Crisp peaches are great. I really don't like soft ones. Crisp Peach handed me a handful of melon seeds and began to reel off palace secrets as if they were her own family treasures. I cracked the melon seeds, clicking my tongue in amazement, unable to contain her curiosity. She said, Does Zhao Yunniao know that the crown prince has such a problem? Kui Dao said very naturally, The crown prince wasn't impotent from the start. It was my master who poisoned him. What? The fifth prince poisoned the crown prince? I'm shocked. Kui Dao looked at my astonished expression and said meaningfully, It's mainly because of you. You went to seduce the crown prince, and my master didn't dare to get angry at you. So he could only poison the crown prince to make him impotent. Hey, I was the one who personally carried it out. Do you know how much silver my master gave me for this? I dare not listen anymore. This must involve countless secrets. It seems Crispy Peach is not just a simple little palace maid. The fifth prince is not simply mad either. Nothing in the royal family is ever simple. At Qianxiang Tower, sisters would even fight over a generous man. What lies before them is the imperial throne. Who could resist such temptation? Kui Dao clicked her tongue and said, Every time you sneak out to see the crown prince, His Highness silently carves wooden figures. After finishing, he then scrapes the little wooden figure bit by bit. Watching him like that, I feel as if he crawled out of hell, a Buddha turning into a demon. Terrifying, truly terrifying. Azura. I quietly turned my head to look at the fifth prince. Nowadays, he dresses impeccably every day, as if he has once again become that lofty and noble fifth prince. With a white jade hairpin in his hair and wearing a dark brocade robe, he appears both pure and dignified. Noticing my gaze, he immediately walked over, slightly bending down and said, Madam, I'm hungry. Let's eat together. When he spoke, there was still a hint of foolishness in his tone. I casually peeled a few melon seeds and tossed them into his mouth. Forget it. Whether he's truly mad or just pretending, it doesn't matter. The affairs of the nobility and royalty are beyond our concern. But I never imagined that the storm of the struggle for the throne would sweep me, a mere commoner, into its midst. Late at night, the Empress sent someone to drag me to the cunning palace. Both the crown prince and the crown princess were present, their faces cold, neither looking at the other. The queen said impatiently, "Enough, enough. There's no need to make such a fuss over such a fickle and frivolous servant girl. Yun Yao, you too, as the crown princess, how can you have so little tolerance for others?" I saw a flicker of mocking laughter in the crown princess's eyes. She bowed her head obediently and said, "Your reprimand is just, Mother Empress." Sigh. It seems being a royal daughter-in-law is not easy. The Empress didn't bother saying much to a small figure like me and directly called for someone. She stared at me and said, "Old Five is heading to the northwest. You go with him and keep a close eye on his every word and action." The queen ordered me to take poison, and I obediently complied, sparing myself further torment. The crown prince looked at me with pity, then said irritably, "Mother, if Xiao Yi is only pretending to be mad, sending him to the northwest is no different from releasing a tiger back into the mountains." The queen said with a headache, "Don't you think I know that? But Qi Zhen is so disappointing. He's given them a handle. In the court, the censor-in-chief and the Minister of Justice are pressing step by step. How can I just stand by and watch Qi Zhen die like this? He's your uncle's only son." I only pieced together the cause and effect after I heard the crown prince arguing with the empress. Qi Zhen accidentally killed someone and was taken into the Ministry of Justice. The Ministry of Justice and the Censorate were both former supporters of the fifth prince. They used this as leverage, hoping to pressure the crown prince's faction into allowing the fifth prince to go to the northwest. Qi Zhen. That name sounds familiar, isn't he the scoundrel who gave me the jade pendant? The prince muttered. My cousin is the same, with the family heirloom jade pendant already in someone else's hands. What good does it do for him to cry innocence? Hearing this, I lowered my eyes submissively, lost in thought. No wonder Tsuetao came to me a while ago asking for that jade pendant, offering a large sum of silver in exchange. So, this is where it comes into play. The Empress did not want to argue with the Crown Prince any further and softened her tone, saying, "What is there to fear? You are now firmly seated as the Crown Prince, and your uncle is in the court, making plans for you. Your father's health is not what it used to be, and your ascension to the throne is just around the corner. Once the war is over, we can find any excuse to take the life of that old fool Han Chongxuan. Xiao Yi won't just stand by and watch him die. He will have no choice but to rebel, and if he rebels, we will have a justifiable cause to act. Isn't it a bit inappropriate to say these things in front of me? Or perhaps, in the Empress's eyes, I'm already a dead person. The Empress wants me to keep an eye on the fifth prince after I go to the northwest and regularly send intelligence reports. Otherwise, they wouldn't give me the antidote, leaving me to suffer every month. How could I dare not comply? After all, the fifth prince's life is not as important as my own. The crown princess was even kind enough to see me out. Along the way, she glanced at me several times. She suddenly remarked indifferently, "Do you think the two of us look alike?" Without waiting for my answer, she turned and walked away. I spread my hands out in dismay. Alas, the crown prince slipped me a note. Unfortunately, I can't read. Back at Danxia Palace, Crispy Peach made me drink a bowl of medicine that was both bitter and astringent. I immediately vomited until the world spun, my mind in a daze before I passed out. In a half-dream, half-awake state, I heard someone crying in agitation. "Are you blaming me? Is that it?" But what could I do? Could I have snatched the poison right in front of the Empress and the Crown Prince? I squinted my eyes and saw that it was actually Zhao Yunyao. She was crying hysterically, with the hairpin in her hair having fallen to the ground. Zhao Yunyao, her face covered in tears, questioned Xiao Yi, choking back sobs several times. She said unsteadily, "Xiao Yi, have you fallen in love with her, with my substitute?" Zhao Yunyao's body went limp, about to collapse towards Xiao Yi, unexpectedly. Xiao Yi dodged aside, avoiding her. Zhao Yunniao fell to the ground, letting out a self-mocking smile. Xiao Yi said coldly, "She is not your substitute. Yunniao, get up and go back." Hearing these words, my heart felt light and airy. I am not Zhao Yunniao's substitute. How sweet those words sound. Zhao Yunniao wiped away her tears, tidied her hair, and stood up gracefully. She looked at Xiao Yi and said softly, "I know you still resent me, but Xiao Yi, I never had a choice. I was born to be the crown princess. You used to be so gentle with me, but now you treat me coldly. I don't blame you. I will make you see that, compared to this lowly woman, I am the one most suited for you." Xiao Yi frowned and said, "Yunniao, I'll say it one more time, I will handle my own affairs. There's no need for a woman like you to risk your life for me. Also, her name is Zheng Yao. Don't let me hear you insult her again." Zhao Yunniao merely smiled. The smile tinged with a hint of something unsettling. She let out a long sigh and said softly, "Can a Buddhist monk also fall in love?" Xiao Yi, back then, you insisted on not becoming the crown prince and even wanted to shave your head and become a monk. Now, it seems you've developed worldly desires, seeking revenge and pursuing women. I'd like to see how far you two can go." Zhao Yunniao left. The bedchamber fell silent. I sensed Xiao Yi's footsteps and quickly closed my eyes. I felt his hand gently caress my brows and eyes, so tenderly. Xiao Yi whispered, "A Yao, whether it's Qi Zhen or the crown prince, any man who has touched you will die. Look at me more, look at my heart more. You pulled me out of hell, so you must stay with me for all eternity. Enduring tribulations together in this mortal world." His lips met mine, lingering in a gentle kiss. My wrist felt a bit cool. Only after he left did I notice an extra string of jade beads. It was engraved with Sanskrit, which I couldn't understand. Crispy Peach came in with the medicine, her face full of sorrow, and said, "Ah, just now His Highness made me whip him 10 times. I was startled." "Why?" Crispy Peach fed me the medicine, pursed her lips, and said, "He feels he didn't protect you well enough, which is why you were poisoned by the Empress." I glanced outside and said worriedly, "It's not his fault. After all, he's in a difficult situation himself right now. Moreover, I did not swallow that poison." At Tianxiang Tower, the madam was afraid we might encounter perverted customers. She taught us many life-saving skills. I quietly hid that pill between my fingers, deceiving everyone's eyes. I hesitated for a long time, but in the end, I didn't tell Xiao Yi about this matter. I still decided to become a spy for the Empress, to prevent her from being driven to desperation and killing me. If Xiao Yi finds out later, I can still argue that I was poisoned and had no choice. By then, whether the Empress and the Crown Prince win, or Xiao Yi wins, I can still save my own life. Xiao Yi is taking me to the northwest with him. Before we leave, I ask Crispy Peach to help me with something. I have her take some silver to Tianxiang Tower to help me redeem someone. As for me, perhaps it's the apprehension of returning to a familiar place. I don't go over there. Instead, I hide in the tea house across the street and watch. When Crispy Peach came out, she was surrounded by a noisy crowd. Where did Zheng Yao get so much silver? Is she doing well? 10 plain-faced women kept asking Crispy Peach questions non-stop. Crispy Peach covered her ears, looking pained. No one knew who started crying first. "Damn woman, saving up so much silver, didn't you know to keep it for yourself?" "Exactly. What's the point of redeeming us? We're all at this age. Why waste this money?" The madam pushed the door open and came out, shouting, "Shut up, all of you." The women stopped crying. I had no idea they cared about me so much. Clearly, before, they thought raising me was a waste of money and scolded me all day. The madam said with a stern face, "Zheng Yao cares about you all, spending so much money to buy your freedom. You, from now on, live your lives well and make something of yourselves, all right? Everyone, go on now. Don't let the young lady stay in this filthy place of ours." They cried as they handed the things in their hands to Brittle Peach. Brittle Peach, holding a pile of things, turned and ran. We were sitting in the carriage heading to the northwest. I glanced at those items. There were things to eat and to use. They were all things I had taken a fancy to at Tianxiang Tower before, which they had been reluctant to give me. Actually, I knew that on the day of the listing, they were planning to pool their money to buy my freedom. But how could I accept it? They are all over 30 years old, and without silver to rely on. Their future will not be easy. Fortunately, I escaped that fate and can now redeem them to provide for their old age. Back at Tianxiang House, when I was young and naive, I called each of them mother. Every time I cried out, I got beaten, and after being hit enough times, I stopped crying out. It wasn't until I grew up that I realized calling them mother made them feel uncomfortable. After all, which mother could bear to see her own daughter grow up in a brothel? I gathered all those things and muttered to myself, sigh, now I don't have a single coin left. I need to find a way to save up again. Crispy Peach poked her head in, looking at me thoughtfully and said, no wonder His Highness is so fond of you. You have a very strong human scent, quite different from the rest of us. I looked at Crispy Peach's round face and asked her curiously, what kind of person are you? Crispy Peach chuckled, a little ghost by the side of the King of Hell. It wasn't long before I understood what that meant. We traveled day and night to the northwest, unaware of how many assassination attempts we had faced. I watched as Crispy Peach took many lives with a knife as thin as a cicada's wing, from the mouths of those who died. I learned that Crispy Peach had a resounding name in the martial world, Little Crispy Peach, the Life-Taker. I thought to myself, this name is truly resounding. The more people Crispy Peach killed, the brighter her eyes became. The redder her lips grew. She was still that round-faced little girl, yet she clearly carried an aura of murderous intent. Blood splattered onto my face, and the dead person's eyes stared at me, wide and unblinking. I was so frightened that I fell seriously ill, running a high fever that lasted for a long time. In my dreams, I was crying and begging others not to kill me. Xiao Yi held me tightly, constantly comforting me. Ayao, be good, open your mouth and drink the medicine. I bit my lip. Crying non-stop, burning with fever, I began to blame him. Why did you have to take me along? I just wanted to live a peaceful life. Is that so hard? I'm going mad. I've lost my mind. I pulled out my hairpin and slashed at my face. It's all because of this face. Xiao Yi stood steadily holding the medicine, watching me. I said angrily, why didn't you stop me? Sigh, I can't bear to die. Xiao Yi smiled gently and said, if you truly find life unbearable, you would kill me first, never yourself. This person knows me too well. I glared at him, tossed the hairpin aside, snatched the medicine bowl, and downed it in one gulp. Kui Dao's voice came from outside. Madam, hire me, 5,000 taels of silver, and I guarantee I'll kill His Highness cleanly. I pinched my empty purse, thinking to myself, you little brat, just rub salt in the wound. 5,000 taels. Indeed, I don't even have 5 coins left. Anyway, with all the commotion along the way, we managed to arrive safely in the northwest. As soon as I entered the general's mansion, my eyes were met with morning white everywhere. White lanterns hung from the eaves, and everyone was dressed in white. A group of people stood with solemn expressions. Upon seeing Xiao Yi, they all knelt down in unison. Seeing this situation, I quickly knelt down as well. Xiao Yi pulled me up and led me inside. A memorial hall has been set up inside for the late empress. Xiao Yi lit 3 sticks of incense and asked me to kneel and pay my respects. Xiao Yi said softly, Mother, this is Zheng Yaro, my wife. I offered the incense and felt many people watching me. An elderly general came forward and handed me a large gold bracelet. He said kindly, you're a good child. Xiao Yi patted my head and said gently, this is your uncle, General Han. I quickly called out, Uncle. Crispy Peach took me to the backyard. My aunt came forward, took my hand, and cried for a long while, saying that I had suffered with Xiao Yi. In a daze, I followed my aunt to meet my cousin and younger cousin. Sitting in the room, I stared at the gifts on the table, still feeling a bit bewildered. I look around to make sure no one is nearby. I clear my throat and whisper quietly, "Uncle, aunt, cousin, cousin." After saying it, I feel particularly silly and pat my mouth. I can't help but chuckle softly. Oh, thanks to Xiao Yi, I now have a family. Life in the Northwest has been quite comfortable. My uncle's family are all kind people. I get along well with my cousin Hongying, and we often play together. War has broken out again in the Northwest. My aunt went to the temple to pray for protective charms and handed them out one by one. When it was my turn, I deliberately turned away, pretending to be nonchalant, but to my surprise, my aunt took my hand and placed a protective charm in my palm. I clutched the talisman, lost in a daze. Hongying pulled me along as we walked out. "Come on, let's go help our cousin take stock of the provisions, with the great battle imminent." Nothing could be taken lightly. The entire populace of Suzhou City was also in a state of high tension. The women sew clothes, bandages, and leather armor. The men make things for defending the city, forging ironware, bows, and arrows. In short, everyone is busy and bustling. All the children are sent to the Sea Iron Hall, where someone helps look after them. Hongying's most frequent activity was going to the Sea Iron Hall to teach martial arts to the children. Xiao Yi always left early and returned late. When he left, I had not yet gotten up. When he returned, I was already fast asleep. Sometimes I wake up in the middle of the night, and the space beside me is still empty. General Han is even more hurried in his movements. According to my aunt, when he gets busy, he sometimes doesn't even have a proper meal. During the day, I help out at the Sea Iron Hall with Hongying, and I've heard that every household in Suzhou has set up a longevity tablet for General Han. The people of Suzhou only recognize General Han, not the emperor. I can't help but recall the crown prince telling the empress that he would kill General Han once the war was over. At that time, I felt regret and sorrow in my heart, but now it is heartache and anxiety. At night, I forced myself to stay awake and did not fall asleep. Xiao Yi entered the room quietly and was taken aback when he saw me sitting at the table waiting for him. I pulled him to sit down and handed him the note the crown prince had given me. I said guiltily, "This was given to me by the crown prince. I can't read, so take a look at what's written on it. Also, the empress poisoned me and made me a spy, ordering me to write a letter every month and send it to the silk shop in the north of the city. But I haven't done anything." Xiao Yi glanced at the words on it and said nonchalantly, "The crown prince said that when your life is in danger, go find Deputy General Lin. He will send you back to the capital." Deputy General Lin, isn't that the right-hand man of General Han? He is actually the crown prince's man. I hurriedly said, "Then you should go and inform my uncle right away." Xiao Yi pressed me onto his lap and calmly said, "We've known for a long time that Deputy General Lin is the crown prince's man. He's not one to waver when it comes to the greater good of the nation. We'll deal with him after the war with the barbarians is over." I immediately breathed a sigh of relief and glanced at the note again. "There's another line written here. What does it say?" Xiao Yi looked at me. My gut told me it definitely wasn't anything good. That lecherous crown prince probably wrote some obscene and lascivious lyrics, didn't he? Sure enough, the next moment, Xiao Yi slowly recited, "Awaiting your return, we shall share the joy of intimacy, indulging in the utmost pleasures of this world. I grew up in a brothel, so I've heard all sorts of indecent talk, but when Xiao Yi recited it in that tone, I couldn't help but feel flustered." Xiao Yi placed the note on the table and continued, "The bowl of medicinal soup you drank after you returned was the antidote. Later, when Crispy Peach said you weren't actually poisoned, I felt a sense of relief in my heart." At this point, he smiled and said, "A Yao always has a way of protecting herself. always finding a way out at every moment. That's a good thing. Hearing this, I found it even stranger. He was better off when he was pretending to be clueless. At least back then, I spoke very little. I pretended to be sleepy and urged him to go to bed. While he turned around, I tore that note into pieces. As a result, after Xiao Yi finished showering, he came back and, without saying a word, pressed himself on top of me. He had me all worked up and left me hanging. Xiao Yi deliberately kept me on edge, murmuring as if in a dream, "Yao, you're always ready to leave me, aren't you?" I wrapped my arms around his neck and coaxed him. "How could that be? You're so handsome and of such noble status. If you succeed in your rebellion and become emperor someday, you'll surely make me a noble consort, won't you?" "I can't bear to leave," I clung to him. Xiao Yi usually lets me take the lead in this matter, but this night, he really wore me out. It was pleasurable, but it was also truly exhausting, in my heart. I cursed the lustful crown prince to death. He really is a troublemaker. After the Northwestern War ended, life finally became lively. Xiao Yi had some free time and started teaching me to read and write, but I just happened to have a stubborn mind. Today I learn 5 characters, tomorrow I forget 3. Xiao Yi was also patient, slowly teaching me. I went to the silk shop to deliver the intelligence report and casually extended my hand. The shopkeeper handed me a bag of silver with a pained expression, unable to resist asking, "Miss, your expenses are really a bit high." I glared at him. "Enough with the nonsense. Do you think it's easy for me to gather intelligence in the general's mansion? Don't I have to grease a few palms?" The shopkeeper fell silent, his expression growing even more troubled. "The Empress has also written to me." I unfolded the letter and saw that it was filled with scolding. "Only 5 characters per sheet of paper. Can't you practice your delicate calligraphy properly? Do you think sending letters is easy? No one cares how many bowls of rice Xiao Yi eats in a day, and no one cares whether you two have argued or not, if you keep writing such nonsense. Don't expect to get the antidote next month. If you don't want it, then you don't want it. Who cares?" I pouted. I opened another letter, which was sent by the Crown Prince, more lewd and vulgar verses. I burned it in advance, so that Xiao Yi wouldn't see it and force me to write him love letters again. After returning, I saw many people coming out of Xiao Yi's study. I casually asked Crispy Peach, "What has he been busy with lately?" Many of the people coming and going are unfamiliar faces. Crispy Peach replied very naturally, "Busy plotting a rebellion, of course." I was startled and lowered my voice. "You just blurted it out so openly." Crispy Peach took out some melon seeds and started cracking them, nodding as she said, "His Highness said that no matter what you ask, we shouldn't hide anything from you." After she finished speaking, she added with an air of mystery, "But you, on the other hand, ask nothing at all, madam. I can see it. If His Highness really succeeds in his rebellion, you'll just grab your bundle and run off." I laughed awkwardly. "What nonsense. I'm just hoping he'll prosper so I can share in the good fortune." Crispy Peach let out a cry, stepped back a bit, and said loudly, "Then what are those disguises hidden under your bed, along with the fake household registrations and travel permits? For I'm going to die." Crispy Peach made a face at me, then turned and ran away. I turned my head and saw Xiao Yi standing at the door of the study. I gritted my teeth, braced myself, and walked over. "Xiao Yi, let me explain." Xiao Yi took my hand and said gently, "No rush, take your time. I have time to accompany you today." Yes, I was planning to make a run for it, but I couldn't just openly admit that. I huddled in Xiao Yi's embrace, whimpering and crying. I started by recounting how we first met. Then, holding his hand, I reminisced about the difficult days we spent together in the cold palace. Feeling that the emotional build-up was just right, I finally began to address the main issue. If you succeed in your rebellion and become emperor, you'll have so many beauties in your harem that you won't even be able to count them all. What's the first noble lady? The first talented lady? They're all daughters of wealthy and powerful families. As for me, I'm just a prostitute from a brothel. Even if you remember our old feelings and make me a noble consort, I still won't be able to hold my head up in front of others. If I have to spend my days in the palace living a life of serving others, washing their feet, I'd rather take the money and hide far away. After I finished crying, I grabbed Xiao Yi's sleeve to wipe away my tears. Anyway, the truth is out now. Whether he wants to kill me or cut me to pieces, it's up to him. Xiao Yi brought a cup of tea and fed me a few sips, then asked curiously, "Who told you that you'd have to fetch foot-washing water for others?" I moistened my throat and answered honestly, "When I left the palace, Zhao Yunyao threatened me, saying she wanted to prove that she deserves you more than I do. Anyway, these days I keep dreaming about fetching foot-washing water for her." Speaking of dreams, that feeling of grievance came over me again. In the dream, someone framed me, and you wouldn't listen to my explanation, calling me a venomous woman. You wanted to drag me out to be beaten with a board, letting others spit on me. Xiao Yi said thoughtfully, "No wonder you suddenly woke up these past few nights, pinching, biting, and hitting me, so that's why." I looked at the tooth marks on his neck and thoughtfully pulled his collar up a bit, thinking about how Xiao Yi would be sleeping with countless women in the future. I still felt a bit protective of him. I kissed his cheek and gently touched his hand. Xiao Yi glanced at me and said, "Although this is the study, there's really no reason we can't." I swear, I didn't mean it like that at first, but he got up to close the door, stood in front of me, leaned against the desk, and began to undress slowly and deliberately. Xiao Yi has always been meticulous about his clothing. He never wears those flashy or gaudy styles. Plain-colored clothes made him appear even more noble and pure. Sometimes he would remain silent, lost in thought, resembling a piece of jade, admirable from afar, yet not to be trifled with. But now, he looks at me and kisses my hand. He took a step forward, trapping me in the wide chair. I felt my breath grow somewhat scorching. He was softly calling my name, Yao, Yao, each sound softer than the last, each blow heavier than the last. My mind wandered, not knowing where it drifted. It went on until nightfall. When I woke up, I was already lying in bed. Xiao Yi saw that I had woken up and came over to stroke my hair. I pressed my face against his palm, and for some reason, tears began to fall. I whispered, "Xiao Yi, let's end it here. At this point, everything is just right. Looking back, it will all be sweet memories." Xiao Yi responded, "Okay." Upon hearing this, I immediately sat up, furious, and said, "Okay, what's okay about it? What's so good about it?" Xiao Yi then laughed, "Yao, you're not suited to act in that kind of sentimental and melancholic drama." I thought sourly, "Who is suitable? Zhao Yunyao. She's the crown princess, so she wouldn't act with him. Can't I learn from the talented women in books and be a little sentimental?" Xiao Yi presented a box to me, saying earnestly, "In 3 days, I must return to the capital. Inside are some land deeds and property titles from the Jiangnan region. If I fail, Kui Dao will take you back to Jiangnan to settle down, ensuring you live a worry-free life." It turned out that I didn't need to run away on my own. Xiao Yi had already prepared everything for me. At that moment, I truly cried. Tears streamed down my face. With no trace of beauty at all, I sniffled and said, "All right, but if you die, I won't remain a widow for you." Xiao Yi hummed in agreement. I asked him, "Then will you win?" Xiao Yi replied, "It's hard to say." We had nothing more to say, quietly leaning against each other. After a while, I told Xiao Yi, "My mother was a prostitute, and I never met her. She died after giving birth to me. I grew up in Tianxiang House. Apart from seeing many disgusting men, I didn't suffer much hardship. The women in the house all had tragic lives. Although they often fought among themselves, they would help each other when things got tough. In short, I'm just an ordinary person with nothing special about me. Xiao Yi, what about you? Your story must be quite fascinating. Xiao Yi's perspective. My story is not a remarkable one. My mother came from a humble background, cautious and virtuous in every way. She often said that her greatest pride was giving birth to me, from a young age. I possessed a photographic memory and exceptional intelligence. At the age of 3, the master said I had a connection with Buddhism. Later, I fell seriously ill, and my mother, enduring the pain, allowed me to study Buddhist teachings under the master. After studying for a while, I came to feel that everything in this world is like an illusory dream. What is real, and what is false? Gain and loss are but ordinary matters. My heart, and my person, are both empty. My father was originally an idle prince, but the royal family's infighting became too intense. Instead, it allowed him to seize the opportunity and ascend to the throne. My mother became the empress. I became the legitimate heir to the throne. The Grand Tutor said that my greatest flaw is being too kind-hearted. Zhao Yunniao asked me bitterly, "Do you have a heart? You treat me well only because I am your fiancé, not because you love me," my mother said sorrowfully. The imperial consort's family is powerful, and the 5 prominent clans are watching covetously. They will not let you become the crown prince, a Yi. I cannot help you. I am sorry. She was swept into the whirlpool, like a fluttering leaf. My mother cried out in anguish. Xiao Yi
kicked me twice. Fool, did you go out to steal someone in the middle of the night? She ordered me to pour water for her, pinched my ear, and said, "Let me tell you, if you dare to cheat on me, I'll castrate you. You're not some prince anymore, just a fool. If you don't serve me well, you'll regret it." When it comes to bullying the weak and fearing the strong, Zheng Yaro is the first in line. I obediently poured water for her. After drinking, she fell into a drowsy sleep, tugging the blanket to cover me. As I watched her nestle in my arms, some words lingered in my heart. But I could only remain silent. I could only pretend not to know where those splendid clothes and jewelry in the cold palace came from. Jealousy truly burns like a fire, making me lose my appetite and struggle to sleep. I recited Buddhist scriptures over and over again. I couldn't sleep. Open your eyes. Touch Zheng Yaro's hair, and think to yourself, the crown prince must die. The throne must be fought for, otherwise, Zheng Yaro will run away. Xiao Yi has gone to rebel. Kui Dao and I waited for news in the northwest, and we waited for 3 whole months. Just as I was feeling disheartened and packing my bags to head to Jiangnan, a letter finally arrived from the capital. Xiao Yi has ascended the throne. He sent someone to fetch me and the crisp peaches. The carriage raced along the road at breakneck speed, nearly shaking me to death. I went straight to Mingda Hall. As soon as I entered the hall, I saw Xiao Yi dressed in a black dragon-patterned robe. It had been 3 months since we last met, and I actually felt a bit unfamiliar with him. He seemed to have gained many sharp edges, as if getting too close would cut you. I recalled the etiquette the eunuch had taught me on the way here. I was supposed to kneel. Xiao Yi strode over, cupped my face without a word, and kissed me deeply. He started it first. It's been 3 months. Even I, a vegetarian, have started copying Buddhist scriptures. Xiao Yi and I shamelessly locked ourselves in the Mingda Hall and played for 3 days. After coming out, Zhao Yunniao came looking for me. We got into a fight. She pushed me first. Zhao Yunniao sneered. I went through great lengths, endured humiliation, and used the Zhao family's power just to secure the position of imperial noble consort. Why is it that you, without having to pay any price, can sit on the throne of the empress? To be the mother of the nation, do you even deserve it? Do I deserve to use it? You tell me. I got up from the ground and pushed her back. If you're not convinced, go fight Xiao Yi. Why hit me? She wanted to slap me. How could I let her? Fighting, I'm not afraid of that. In short, we had a solid fight. Zhao Yunniao limped away, leaving behind a harsh warning that she wouldn't let me off easily. I shouted at her, "I'll be waiting." Xiao Yi stood by the side, seemingly afraid to even breathe. I walked over and kicked him. "It's all your fault for stirring up this romantic trouble." Regarding Zhao Yunniao becoming the imperial consort, Xiao Yi asked for my opinion. I actually don't mind. She is a proud and noble daughter of heaven. With the crown prince dead, she can't really go back to being a widow. In that case, it would be to drive Zhao Yuniao to her death. They also supported Xiao Yi's power grab with real gold and silver. We cannot do something as ungrateful as that. Later events proved that I was right. Zhao Yuniao has managed the harem so smoothly. I truly admire her. However, the people in the palace are becoming increasingly peculiar. Noble consort Ning is the legitimate daughter of the Minister of Rights, and I heard she gets so nervous at the sight of people that she faints. She simply retreated into the palace. Noble Lady Qing and Noble Lady Ping are close friends from their inner chambers, the kind who sleep and bathe together. Upon hearing this, Crispy Peach excitedly went to gather information. She glanced at me. I immediately covered my ears. I won't listen. Don't say it. Crispy Peach looked regretful. The newly entered consort Jing had the most noble status, and she was a cynic. She could write 800 poems a day to curse people. She cursed both men and women. No one in the entire capital dared to marry her, so she simply entered the palace. Crispy Peach said, "This palace is almost becoming a refuge for noble ladies of the capital. Zhao Yuniao wouldn't let me off, calling me to attend lectures every now and then." She said with frustration, "You are the Empress, second only to one person and above 10,000 others. Don't you want to use your power to do something?" I expressed my thoughts. I want to close all the brothels in the world, so that women are no longer bought and sold by their fathers and brothers, and no longer fall into the lowly class. Zhao Yuniao listened, scrutinized me for a moment, and said nothing. After a while, she came back to scold me again. At that time, I was playing dice with Xiao Yi, losing every single game. I walked out of the Mingda Hall with a face smeared like a tabby cat. Zhao Yuniao took one look at me, took a deep breath, and started scolding me. She quoted from the classics, and her scolding never repeated itself. Anyway, I couldn't understand it either. After Zhao Yuniao finished scolding, she asked me, "Have you ever thought about how to do it specifically? You just threw a sentence at me and never mentioned it again. Zheng Yao, you're really living too comfortably as the Empress." I thought about it, but I couldn't come up with anything. After all, I still haven't even learned all the characters yet. I lack both experience and education, so how can you expect me to come up with any good strategies? I did ask Xiao Yi about it. Xiao Yi said this isn't something that can be accomplished just by talking. The problems have been deeply rooted for a long time and need to be addressed gradually. Seeing my blank expression, Zhao Yuniao started scolding me again. As soon as I returned, I issued an edict summoning her arch-rival, Shangguan Jingshu, into the palace to serve as a female official. From then on, the two of them argued with each other every day. Through all the bickering, they actually managed to come up with a brilliant strategy. I stamped the Queen's seal, ordering Shangguan Jingshu and Zhao Yuniao to carry it out. Xiao Yi, seeing my proud expression, smiled and asked, "What are you so happy about?" I waved the Queen's seal and said with a grin, "I may not have much knowledge, but I can let those who do handle things." Since Jingshu arrived, Zhao Yuniao has been full of energy, busy establishing women's schools and abolishing the low-status registry. With no time left to scold me, Xiao Yi praised me a couple of times, then suddenly changed the subject. "I heard you're going to the Shangguan family's place to have fun tomorrow." I pretended to speak naturally. "Yes, it's Jingshu's birthday, and she invited me to attend the banquet." Xiao Yi also spoke very naturally. "Is that so? I thought you wanted to go see her brother." Her brother has always been known as the #1 gentleman in the capital. Since you don't have that intention, I'll just send him out of the capital to handle something for me. This Empress's seal is so heavy, I don't want to hold it anymore. Extra story. Xiao Shizi stood by the wall, glanced at the Emperor, who was still reading letters in the dead of night. "Alas, I've been tossing and turning all night long. It just so happens that Her Majesty only sent back this one letter, and His Majesty has been scrutinizing it as if it were a flower. With Her Majesty away, the palace always feels so cold and desolate. The Mingda Hall has been quiet all day without a single stir, not to mention the Emperor. Even he felt lonely." The Empress went back to the northwest to visit General Hongying, who is pregnant, and said she would be returning soon. Unfortunately, heavy snow fell, making the roads difficult to travel, causing delays. He entered the palace to serve late and had never seen the emperor as he was in the past. I only heard that when the emperor was still a prince, he was aloof and difficult to approach. But after he entered the Mingda hall to serve, I saw the emperor and the empress being affectionate together all day long. Somehow, the two of them just ended up close to each other, reading books side by side, drinking water cheek to cheek, and even eating, feeding each other bite by bite. Little Shizzy still found it a bit too sweet and cloying, but during the days when Her Majesty was absent, the emperor truly became like a jade sculpture, empty and desolate, like a person without a heart. He was diligent in handling government affairs. He issued edicts to execute people without the slightest mercy. His reprimands of officials could make them wish to die on the spot. But when he had nothing to do, he would go look at the empress's clothes for a while, then go touch her jewelry for a while. Even Consort Zhao couldn't sit still anymore. She came to ask several times when the empress would return. Consort Zhao said, "Does she dislike the homework I assigned her and not want to come back? Your Majesty, write to her and tell her I will reduce some of her homework so she can return earlier." Lord Shangguan also felt listless and uninterested, sighing as he said, "The Tanhua scholar from this imperial examination is so handsome. What a pity the empress is not here. There's no one to appreciate him with me." Of course, these words were spoken behind the emperor's back. How lonely it is. Xiao Shizi yawned, never having felt the nights in the palace drag on so long before. A voice came from outside the door. "Xiao Yi, I'm back." He saw the emperor, like a ghostly shadow, swiftly dart out. Little Shizzy hurriedly followed. As soon as he stepped out, he saw the empress hanging onto the emperor, the two of them kissing so intimately they seemed inseparable. He silently stepped back and ordered someone to prepare hot water. Ouch! Finally, I no longer have to stay up all night with the emperor. After hearing the story above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Looking forward to hearing from you. If you liked this story, don't forget to like it, share it, and subscribe to my channel. See you next time.